And good morning. My name is Ryan Belmore. It is Wednesday, October 26th. We are continuing our conversations with the candidates. All month long, we've been chatting with candidates, local as well as statewide, congressional, and everywhere in between. You can catch all of our videos available on whatsupnoop.com as well as podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are in Portsmouth today. Well, before I get to that, less than 2 weeks until the general election. You can vote now through November 7th, early voting, as they call it. And then on November 8th is the general election. Vote.ri.gov. You can view your sample ballot as well as find out where you can early vote, find out where you can vote on election day, and more. So lots of great information. Vote.ri.gov is where you can go on, see the sample ballot, see all the candidates in your neck of the woods. Today we are in Portsmouth and we are chatting with Daniela Abbott. And hi, Daniela.
Hi, Ryan. Good morning. How are you?
Good. I was saying earlier, it's been 2 years already.
It has. It comes quickly.
Yes, and what a wild 2 years with COVID and everything else going on. Danielle, how many terms does this complete for you?
I'm coming to the end of my second term, so right now I'm running for my third term.
All right. And for those that don't know or haven't met you or don't know too much about you, why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Sure. I am a naval architect and marine engineer by training. So I worked for a long time in the maritime industry. I now am a project manager for waterfront and maritime construction. I have my husband and I moved to Portsmouth in 2010. So we've been here for going on 2.5 years. And we have 2 kids. My daughter Bianca is 12. My son Miles is 10. And I kind of juggle my career with being a mom and serving on the town council. So it's a lot, but I really value my time on the council, and hope that I can be a positive force or a positive voice on the council to help us move forward on the things that are important to our residents.
What originally inspired you a couple terms ago to get involved?
So it goes back a while back. I think, when I first moved to Portsmouth, there's a couple of things that kind of required some adjusting after having lived elsewhere. We lived in Bristol for a while, and then we were actually living in New York City when we moved here. I grew up in a different country, but I spent my summers in the Midwest. And so just kind of having that background of having lived in various different places. I love Portsmouth. I think Portsmouth has a lot to offer and has an amazing quality of life. But there's just some things that, when you first move here, you wonder like, oh, I wonder why it's that way. Or I wonder, why we don't have any sidewalks, for example. Why don't we have any bike paths? So some of those things that you kind of see in other communities or you see in other regions that I would always wonder like, oh, why hasn't Portsmouth done this? Or I remember, I think the year I moved to Portsmouth, the whole town center plan was in the news, in the newspaper. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, that's beautiful. That's amazing. It'll be here in no time. And here we are 12 years later. East Main Road, I think, hasn't really been repaved since. So I think it's some of those little questions and frustrations that I think are frankly very common in any small town in the United States that I just started asking. And I think my nature as a project manager in my profession, I started asking myself, well, what can I do about it? Because I don't want to just sit here and complain about it, right? So I started trying to find ways to help. I joined a couple volunteer committees with the town, and then I asked myself, oh, would why don't I just step up to the plate and run for town council? And I did, and I think it was a excellent learning experience. Some frustrations, some really good things that have happened, and it's all I think we have a pretty good team on the council right now that kind of really well balance each other out. So to answer your question, it was a combination of a lot of different things, and I kind of just thought I'd give it a whirl and see how it went. And then, here we are 4 years later.
I have to ask you because I don't think I asked before, because I am now Midwestern by marriage. So where did you grow up in the Midwest?
So I actually grew up in São Paulo, Brazil, but my father is from Minnesota, but he's from way up in northern Minnesota. So that's where I spent my summers, was on the lake up in northern Minnesota. But I spent a lot of times in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and I mean my company right now is out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, so I do travel out there quite a bit still. So I guess I'm a little piece of me is Midwestern by nature.
Okay. All right. My wife is from St. Louis, and we were just out there this past
Nice.
weekend for a family reunion. So I've got a little St. Louis ties now. So
Yeah.
over the years, what has been your proudest moment serving on the council?
Proudest moment serving on the council. Wow.
I know
That is
you
a
say
hard
moments. You had a couple
question.
of them. Yeah.
I actually, this is a little thing, and I think it's kind of like a baby step toward a much bigger effort that we're undertaking. But I was really proud of us we got a grant, and this was right before COVID, so things kind of got derailed, but are moving along well now. We got a grant from the Van Buren Foundation to do a master plan for parks, recreation, and open space. That is something that I think we're really in dire need of. It will help us plan for the future and leverage that planning resource to get additional grant funding, so we can kind of tackle some of the big issues that we have in town and that I think our residents would like to see. And I kind of led the effort to get that grant application submitted, and I've been pushing it along, obviously with support from others on the council. But I think long-term planning for some of the things that are near and dear to our residents' hearts is something that is very important. And I was pretty happy to get that grant for the town, so we can start moving that forward.
Great. What made you earlier this year, or whenever you did decide that you weren't done yet, you want to do another term?
A lot of it I think has to do with COVID. We had so many things kind of with momentum moving forward when the pandemic hit, and then everything came to like a crashing halt, and we were kind of just treading water, just figuring out how to stay afloat for a while. And now, I'm getting to the end of my second term, and some of the things that were really important to me and to our constituents before the pandemic are finally starting to move forward again. And so I felt like I wanted to stick around to see those things through and help make sure that we stay the course and continue to make progress.
And you are one of the 7 endorsed Democratic Town Council candidates. I don't know why I have to count that every time. But if people visit portsmouthdemocrats.com, they can see your full bio, which, by the way, I'll give you credit. I think it's the most in-depth one that I've seen.
Oh, wow. Thank you. More information than people probably need, but okay.
It's all right. More info is better. But you are one of these 7 endorsed Portsmouth Democrats. What will be your priorities, or what do you think the biggest issues are in Portsmouth right now that another 2 years on the council that you can kind of focus on or help with?
So I think for me, that one of the big priorities that has also been one of my biggest frustrations on the town council is East Main Road and West Main Road. I think we have enormous issues with both roads. They don't serve our needs. They don't serve the needs of the communities south of us that rely on them for transportation. They have, major issues and fatal flaws, for lack of a better term. And, we've been working closely with RIDOT to figure out how to move forward with those 2 roads. We got the safety audits done. That's actually another pretty proud moment. I think I helped get the ball rolling on that a little bit. But we have so much more to do. And I think, we don't own the road, so we have to work with RIDOT closely. We need to find a good way to work with them to advance our priorities and our needs. I think I would like to see us work more closely with Middletown and Newport to try to address the issues with West Main Road and East Main Road, because I think they're just getting worse. And we really need kind of a long-term plan that we can start to make progress on and make headway on with both those roads. So I think that to me has always been a top priority, even though we don't have direct control of it. I think another one is continuing our efforts to improve the stewardship of town-owned properties. We've made a lot of progress in, improving concessionaire agreements with town properties, or trying to figure out what to do with properties that are in disrepair. But we still have some big ones to tackle, like the Aquidneck Island Christian Academy or Cogshell School. That building, it's been 4 years on the council and we still haven't figured out what to do with that building. So we still have some big things to tackle. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the Parks and Rec planning effort that is underway. I'd like to see us kind of take a more holistic approach to planning how to manage our properties, so we can focus resources on the highest priorities and figure out how to address needs over a long term. We don't have the funds to do it all at the same time, but if we don't start somewhere and if we don't have a plan for how to tackle those things, we just dig ourselves into a deeper and deeper hole. And I think the master plan that we're doing now will help us maybe get more grant funding to help tackle some of these issues, so that it's not all on the taxpayer dime. There's the never-ending question of the transfer station and trash pickup, and how to resolve that. I think we're making progress. I'd love to see us, get a solid hybrid approach on the table that we can really discuss and consider, and that will address the needs of all our residents. What that exactly looks like is to be determined. I think we have some work to do to really get to that still. And then we also have the Green and Complete Streets ordinance that, a resolution that I wrote back in 2019 kind of got the ball rolling on that, but we still don't have an ordinance. I think we have a lot of things that we could do to improve alternative transportation options in Rhode Island, or not in Rhode Island, in Portsmouth, for both cyclists and pedestrians. I think we have very little options for people that want to ride a bike or want to walk around Portsmouth, and there's very targeted improvements that we could do that could improve overall connectivity for the town. And so I would like to see us make some progress in that front also. And I think that kind of covers 4 pretty big ones that that we can't fix in the next 2 years. I know that much.
Well, it's funny, while you were mentioning some of them, I was like, 2 years ago, a lot of the candidates and I spoke about some of these issues. And just kind of comment here is, maybe now that hopefully COVID is in our rearview mirror, hopefully some of the projects can move a little bit quicker now, like East Main and West Main. Town-owned properties, I know we talked about 2 years ago. The only thing you didn't mention, if we're hitting the greatest hits here, is the senior center.
So see, I think the senior center really fits into the town-owned properties and Parks and Rec question. So, I think what we're doing with the current senior center and the plan there, in the grand scheme of things, given the options on the table, is positive in the right direction. I have reservations as to what is going to be provided in the housing development, whether that's going to meet the needs of our senior citizens and whether that is really what they need. I think if we take a step back and look overall at the needs of the community, I believe that what we should be working toward is a multi-use community center that can really meet the needs of our senior citizens and provide them with a solid replacement to the senior center that we have had to date. And that gives us a little bit of flexibility to provide a community space for other organizations to use as well. Because I think there's excellent models in other communities for community centers that are vibrant, active, and kind of meet the needs of a large cross section of the community. And I think that would be really valuable to Portsmouth, with prioritizing the needs of our senior citizens, to make sure that as we lose the senior center, we have a good, solid plan for how we are going to prioritize their needs.
One of the things you mentioned when you were talking about East Main and West Main Road is working with Middletown and Newport. And I think after talking with 40 or so candidates now, if I had a wish list or if I had a goal, it would be maybe quarterly, or let's start with once a year. Portsmouth, Middletown, and Newport getting together, all of the governments, and maybe talking about some of the issues that the entire island faces, instead of each of them trying to, it would be helpful in knowing what they're doing. It'd also be helpful in strengthening the voice to Rhode Island Department of Transportation.
100%. I think that would be so valuable. I think if we all got together and had a forum, of town leadership with our town administrators and town planners kind of at the table also, I think we would find that there's a lot of alignment on some of our priorities, and that we could really kind of stack hands to move some of these issues forward. I think I don't know what the right avenue is for organizing that and coordinating that. I think there is a bit of a void in that regional coordination arena, and I would love to see that happen, because I think it would be, even if we only pick like one or two priority issues that all of us are in agreement on and kind of try to work together on those things. I personally have a feeling that our roads would kind of rise to the top on those lists. And we're not going to get anywhere with us individually kind of yapping away and complaining to RIDOT. But if the three communities could really work together on a comprehensive long-term solution for our transportation woes, I think that would really benefit all of us.
Yeah, especially with the two arteries. I mean, Portsmouth might have a different idea of what West Main Road should look like compared to Newport. It would be helpful. Yeah. There might be ideas there. So
yes, agreed. So are you offering to coordinate a forum for all of us? Is that what you're doing?
I don't think I have the governorship to do that, but I will bring it to perhaps Senator Lou DePalma or somebody who has his hands in government.
Someone who kind of has connections with everyone would be the perfect person to kind of pull that together.
Marvin or Terry, or we'll get one of the. I'll pass it off to a senator or a rep.
There you go. I like that.
Perhaps David Cicilline. Maybe he can be the point person. Speaking of Middletown and Newport, they're talking about all of this school regionalization stuff. How close are you watching what's going to happen there as a parent, as a counselor, as a Portsmouth voter? Are you paying close attention to it, or is reports out there that Portsmouth is all in on regionalization true?
That's a bit of a third rail topic there, but I confess I'm keeping tabs on it, but very superficially. I'm curious to see how things play out with Newport and Middletown. I do feel strongly that some level of regionalization island-wide would probably benefit all three communities. In my experience, Portsmouth has not been very open to discussing it in the past. So I think it's a bit of a hurdle. I look at other very successful school districts in, for example, Massachusetts, and they are roughly the size of what we would be as one combined school district across all three municipalities. So I look out there and I see some very successful models for school districts that are operating that I think would be, awesome for Aquidneck Island. Now, how to get from where we are to that? Poof. I do not know the answer to that. I don't, I think I'm always open to having conversations and discussing possibilities and ideas and exploring different options. Especially now, we went through that whole planning effort, spent a lot of money on planning for upgraded middle school and improved high school, and that all went away. I think between the needs of the three communities, trying to fund school improvements and the school of the future for all three communities individually is not realistic. And so I'm, on a personal level, as a parent, and then as a one individual town councilor on a council of 7, I'm open to discussing and considering any ideas that would add value to our students. What they are, who knows? And if I'm the only one on there that's willing to have the conversation, we're not going to get anywhere anyway. So I think certainly there's things we could be doing better, and certainly there's ways we could be working with Middletown and Newport to provide value to our students.
I trying to control everything again. I'm just wishing the conversations could have been had before possibly 2 new high schools are being built. To remind people, question 4 and 5 have to pass in Middletown. Question 5 has to pass in Newport in order for the regional school district to happen, and then also in order for Middletown's new high school to be built. So there's a lot on the table in the next couple of weeks.
I know. So I do, as a reminder, because I don't know if people really paid attention to this, but the superintendent from Newport did come to the Portsmouth Town Council with an appeal to have a discussion about what regionalization could look like, or what options would we be willing to put on the table. And our council was really open to listening to suggestions or ideas or different ways we could work together. And from my perspective, what happened there is that the Portsmouth School Committee was not open to discussing any regionalization ideas, and the whole idea died. So, I think if there's people that want to discuss the options, and there's a lot of different ways to achieve quote unquote regionalization. I know that's kind of a dirty word, but it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of people to work together to find any solutions that work. And you're right. If they end up building 2 high schools further south, then I'm going to feel like maybe Portsmouth missed out on an opportunity to find a way to work together to everyone's benefit.
And just a programming note, we actually have this Newport school superintendent on after this. So we'll be chatting much more about that. Daniela, how worried are you about all of this Mayflower winds wire talk? Okay,
so as an engineer, not really. I think we just need to do the homework to make sure that everybody, all the different voices, are heard and the people's concerns are addressed. I think from a from a technical point of view, and from someone who I strongly support green energy, and I know that I really believe that offshore wind is the right solution for long-term energy issues. We have to find a way to accommodate it. Now, whether their plan is the best solution, I do have questions about that. And that's why I think it's important for us to position ourselves so we can ask the right questions and make sure that the plan that is actually constructed, or the solution that's actually constructed, it works for everybody. So in the long term, I'm not concerned. I think we'll work it out. I think we just need to make sure, we need to stay vigilant, and we need to make sure that we have a seat at the table, and that we ask the right questions so that we don't have any nasty surprises at the end of the day. But I'm confident that we'll find a solution that is beneficial, that allows and enables the construction of new offshore wind, that is not negative or detrimental to the quality of life in Portsmouth, and that possibly, has a long-term benefit to the residents of Portsmouth. So I think there's a lot of things up in the air, and I just want to make sure that we make sure we have a voice in the process to guide Mayflower Wind toward a solution that works for us.
What else are you hearing as you talk to people this campaign season? What are their biggest worries? What are they celebrating? What's good? What's bad? What do people want to see different?
I get a lot of emails about the transportation.
Yes, trash. People
Yeah,
love trash.
people love talking about trash, and I read them. I hear all their concerns, and I just want people to know that we are really trying to find a solution that works for everyone. No one wants to shut people out. We know how important the transfer station is to a lot of people. We need to balance the you know economically viable solution with what meets the needs of the majority of our residents, and find the best fit for our community. So that is one I hear a lot about. People are concerned about the Mayflower wind issue, and so we have to make sure we keep addressing those questions, and that we ask the right questions of the powers to be. Old Mill Lane and the LNG
Oh yeah.
facility there is a big issue. I don't think we have a good long-term solution on that one yet, but we're going to keep working on it. Um, those are the ones that we hear the most about, honestly.
Yeah, and there's a couple big ones there, and just some ongoing ones. I'm glad you mentioned emails because I often mention that, and I'm glad you mentioned that you read them because I often tell people these are the people you need to share your opinions with. You can put them on our Facebook page, you can put them everywhere else, but the people who represent you want to hear what you think and what your concerns are and your questions, and that's the only way they can best represent all of everybody is if they hear from as many of you as possible. So
yes, absolutely. And for the record, I don't read Facebook. I
don't either.
Quit Facebook 2 years ago. It's just a whole lot of nastiness. Send me a nice email stating your case, and we will read it and take action on it. So.
And the key word there was nice. We could.
I have enough jerks dealing with on work daily, so I don't need it. I don't need it on all fronts. Thank you.
Let's see if I can make this segue. You're the first person I have to make this segue for, but one of the hats in my background is Ragged Island. I believe has opened a great business, a great area for community engagement, economic development. Earlier this week, or last week, I guess now, we lost Louis Escobar, who was there for 60 years. How do we keep bringing in supporting people like the Escobars or the Grays at Ragged Island to continue bringing those great businesses to Portsmouth?
Oh, that is a tough question. And I think
you are the only one who's gotten it because Louis passed away between last time and this time. So just wondering, I mean, Portsmouth has if you go down to Island Park, you have all those family-owned restaurants and businesses. It's very much a family business community style. There's a lot of farmland, but that's what I like about Portsmouth a lot.
Oh yeah, me too. I agree. I love Ragged Island. I think they add so much value to Portsmouth, and seeing how vibrant their location is. We go there regularly too. I think, Ragged Island, for example, supporting them in the ordinance change to allow for a farm brewery. I think that was a really important step. I think allowing businesses to diversify and find new creative ways to add value to the community, much like Ragged Island did, is really, really important. I think working on the big issues like our roads and our transportation to make sure that Portsmouth is a pleasant and inviting place to come to is an important piece of it. So I think there's a lot of little ways that we can support them. I think making it less of a burden to start a business in Portsmouth, and making sure that our zoning code and our zoning board are open to different ideas for how businesses can thrive in Portsmouth is going to be important as we go into the future. I don't know if there is like a single thing that's silver bullet to help businesses thrive in Portsmouth. I think it's a combination of a lot of little things, is like good town planning and making sure we have a good zoning codes for where businesses can go and how we can support them. Making sure we have adequate transportation and roads so those businesses can thrive without major hurdles. And then, just supporting them I go to Ragged Island all the time. So
well, maybe I'll see you there soon.
yes.
So, and if you're looking for support or bringing a business to town, I'm sure town council would love an intro to what you're trying to do, so that way they can offer support if there's support needed. Daniela, is there anything else that we did not get to today?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground there in 30 minutes. That was really great. No, just please get out and vote, do your homework, know who you're voting for and what they're going to support. And, hopefully we can keep the momentum going and keep working on some pretty big topics.
Excellent. Well, we wish you the very best of luck. We thank you for taking the time to chat with us, and we will chat with you again very soon.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. Good to see you.
All right. It's nice to see you as well. That is Daniela Abbott, and she's a Democrat incumbent running for Portsmouth Town Council. PortsmouthDemocrats.com. You can find out, you can read her bio, learn more, contact her, and much more. We want to thank Daniela for joining us. If you missed any portion of this interview, want to watch this interview again, share it with anybody, watch other Portsmouth Town Council candidate interviews, all available on whatsupnuke.com, as well as a podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks for watching.